Can you remember a compliment someone gave you 5 years ago, word for word, the way they said it, the exact feeling it left? Can you recall every kind thing a partner ever said about you? Every moment someone told you that you were doing well? Every time a friend looked at you and said something genuinely warm? Can you remember what someone said to you in anger, in cruelty, in casual dismissal, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago? Can you hear their voice? Can you feel the exact temperature of that moment? Most people who are honest will tell you the answer. The cruel things are sharper. The cruel things stayed, and somewhere in the gap between those two kinds of memory, you have probably asked yourself, usually late at night, usually alone, why your brain works this way, why you can replay the worst things ever said to you with perfect clarity, and yet struggle to hold on to the good. Why the words that hurt most are the ones that never quite leave. You are not broken for this. I came across this recently and it completely changed how I understood something I had been carrying for a long time. You are not weak. You are not someone who chooses pain. You are someone whose brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, and the design goes back further than you think. Psychologists call this negativity bias, the brain's evolutionary tendency to weight negative information more heavily than positive. Your nervous system learned early that danger required more attention than safety, that a threat needed to be remembered, analyzed, prepared for, that forgetting a kindness cost you nothing, that forgetting a cruelty could cost you everything. So your brain became an archivist of harm, not to punish you, to protect you. But here is where it gets more specific and more personal. Research shows that people who grew up in environments where criticism, harshness, or emotional unpredictability were common develop a heightened negativity bias that goes well beyond the baseline. Your nervous system, shaped in a place where the wrong word from the wrong person could change the temperature of the entire house, learn to track unkindness with extraordinary precision, like a smoke detector calibrated for the faintest trace of smoke. Not just fire, but the idea of fire. Every harsh word got filed. Every dismissal got cataloged. Every moment of cruelty got stored. Somewhere your nervous system could access it quickly, because your nervous system believed it might need to. There is also something called hypervigilance, a state in which your nervous system stays permanently alert to threat, scanning every interaction for signs of danger, replaying past harm as a way of staying ready for the next one. The cruel words you remember are not just memories, they are data your nervous system is still using, still consulting, still running threat assessments against every new relationship, every new room, every new version of someone who reminds you, even slightly, of the one who first taught you that words could hurt. Bessel van der Kolk wrote that trauma is not what happened to you. It is what happens inside you as a result of what happened. And what happened inside you in response to every cruel thing that was ever said is that your brain built a library, not to remind you of pain for no reason, to try to make sure the pain never caught you off guard again. The cost of that library is invisible and enormous. At work, you replay critical feedback for days, while positive feedback evaporates by the next morning. In relationships, one harsh comment from a partner can undo weeks of warmth. Not because you are dramatic, but because your nervous system weights them on completely different scales. Alone at night, scrolling through nothing at 2 a.m., you find yourself returning to something someone said years ago. A parent, a teacher, a person who mattered and used that mattering against you. You do not choose to go back there. You get taken. And the grief of it, the invisible grief, is that you have spent so much of your life being shaped by people who probably never thought about those words again. They said something careless or cruel and moved on. You are still carrying it. You have been carrying it with a fidelity they never deserved. This is the part that most psychology channels completely skip. You might find yourself bracing for criticism even when none is coming, reading tone carefully, checking faces, listening for the shift in someone's voice that might signal something harsh is on its way. You might find that you discount compliments almost immediately. They pass through, while a single pointed comment can settle into your chest and stay for days. You might find yourself working twice as hard after any criticism, not because you want to improve, but because some part of you is trying to make sure it never happens again. You might find that the cruelest things ever said to you have quietly become the voice you use on yourself, that the inner critic in your head sounds like someone specific, someone from a long time ago. You might find it genuinely hard to believe you are doing well, even when every piece of evidence says so, because your brain's filing system has far more evidence of what went wrong than what went right. None of this is who you are. It is what you learned. Healing begins with understanding that your brain is not broken. It is just running very old safety software in a world that no longer requires it. Shadow work is where you start to examine the library, writing down the cruelest things that stayed with you. Not to relive them, but to look at them clearly for the first time as an adult. To ask, was this true, or was this one person's pain, one person's limitation, one person's bad day, handed to me as if it were a fact about who I am? Most of what stayed is not a fact. It is a wound dressed as information, nervous system regulation, learning to pause, breathe, and interrupt the threat response when it activates over something small is how you teach your body that not every critical word is the one that defined you, that you have survived every harsh thing ever said to you, that the danger is past, even when the memory is present. And therapy is where you get to say the things out loud, the words you remember, the people they came from, the weight they left, to someone who receives them not as data, but as your story. That matters more than it sounds. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." The words that were said to you are not the last word on who you are. They are just the loudest ones. And loudness, it turns out, is not the same as truth. The goal is not to be fixed. It is to become whole. Here is the thought I want to leave with you tonight. Somewhere right now, someone is lying awake replaying something cruel that was said to them. Maybe years ago, maybe this week, wondering why they can't just let it go. They are not weak. They are not broken. They are carrying something that was never theirs to keep. And if that is you, if this found you in one of those quiet, painful moments, share it with someone who might need it. You may not know who they are, but they are out there, and they are carrying something too.